But as I believe in evolution, I also believe that we have the bully pulpit in Washington, and that means that if we had a domestic agenda, and that we'd realize that we are far behind in our science and NIH and CDC, we'd be able to attack this very bad disease that's attacking us. We'd be able to attack it. So I think it's about domestic priorities, and I think we need to get the CDC working, we need to get the NIH working, take that money from Iraq, put it here, and begin to fight that disease so people can live.
See, this is part of the Democrats.
I'm from New Jersey.
Yeah. Like I even, you know.
Don't chase me, bro. Don't chase me. I can do it. Ow! Ow! Ow!
Like I even, you know, boy, sometimes here at CBS, I wish the sound wasn't working.
Dirty is going.
I didn't even know what that asshole was saying. But you know, see, this is the problem sometimes with government. Hey, do we have some fucking security in this building? Or do I have to come over and pick this guy's ass out of here? Could you get the fuck out of my building? Hey, ouch, 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 ouch. Jesus.
They won't chant Jerry for you, though?
You know, is it that hard to throw somebody out of a building? I'll kick your ass out of here, too. Get her the fuck out.
What is going on here? What's the issue?
Hey, this isn't the Iowa caucus, okay? It's not a debate. It's a debate between us. You're in the audience. Audience comes from the Latin, to listen. What's going on here?
Bill, I was only allowed 2 guests, so things should be okay after that.
No, it's great. No.
Anyway.
You have good friends.
That one's not mine.
Oh. Yeah, this is the problem with live television. I guess it gets around that if you're on live, then the nutcases, yeah, and you are a nutcase, Building 7. Yeah, you know what that's all about? Of all the things I've said, and believe me, I've said a lot of things, as you all know, that could get my head on a block. The one that they protest about out here is the people who think that the World Trade Center was a controlled explosion. You see, in that instance, I'm actually defending President Bush. I don't think President Bush brought down the World Trade Center. And cows disagree with me.
This is better than when I was on Springer.
This is
Anyway, I have some good news to report. One of our generals this week said that we have now eliminated Al-Qaeda in Iraq, who, by the way, goes by the name now AQI. I love it.
That's cool. Yeah.
It's great. It's like KFC, you know. AQI. We don't make the bombs that kill the troops. We make the hate that makes the bombs.
oh, Jesus.
How come I don't fire my audience department is really the question that's running through my mind right now.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, you know, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
Yeah, he said we're gonna pull. He said we're gonna pull the building. Silverstein said we're gonna pull the building.
Well, we got the firemen saying they pulled it. I mean, Silverstein goes on PBS and says it, and we're the weirdos when he says it on TV. Unbelievable. Let's see that one more time.
Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
It takes demolition experts weeks to prepare for the destruction of a building. How do they do it on 9/11 in just a few hours?
I said after 9/11, you were the voice of realism. People praised you for telling the truth and coming to the American public and saying it's going to be a long war, it's going to be a difficult war. Now, in this period of difficulty and darkness, we have not been getting the straight story, unfortunately.
Bob Woodward's State of Denial, which depicts a dysfunctional White House with no plan for a post-war Iraq after the 2003 invasion. Democrats pounced on Woodward's claims that in July of 2001, former CIA Director George Tenet warned then National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice about an impending terrorist attack on American soil, but, quote, got the brush off.
If the two senior counterterrorism officials in the Bush administration came to the National Security Advisor, Condi Rice, and said what they claim they said. Basically, our hair is on fire. We think an attack is imminent. We're not exactly sure where or when, and she took no action. I find that stunning.
Condoleezza Rice, disputing the book's account of a July 10th, 2001 meeting. She has no specific recollections. She said, I would remember if I was told, as this account apparently says, that there was about to be an attack in the United States. The idea that I would somehow have ignored that, I find incomprehensible.
Issues inside the United States, he talked to people about this, but I don't remember the Al-Qaeda cells as being something that we were told we needed to do something about.
Isn't it a fact, Dr. Rice, that the August 6 PDB warned against possible attacks in this country? And I ask you whether you recall the title of that PDB.
I believe the title was Bin Laden determined to attack inside the United States. Now, the PDB, no, Mr. Benveniste,
I will get into the...
I would like to finish my point here.
I didn't know there was a point.
Given that you asked me whether or not it warned of attacks.
I asked you what the title was.
You said, did it...
The White House has less to say about the revelation that CIA Director George Tenet and his counterterrorism chief Cofer Black, 2 months before 9/11, requested an emergency meeting with Condoleezza Rice to sound the alarm that intelligence showed al-Qaeda would soon attack the United States. The book claims Rice was, quote, polite, but they felt the brush off.
We're puzzled by this. No one has seen these type of quotes before. Each of these participants went before the commission and testified. So it kind of leaves us scratching our head because we don't believe that's an accurate account.
You're now consulting in a firm with Richard Clark, who was at that meeting on July 10th on the central question of whether Rice was warned then of an attack on the U.S. Do we know who's right here, Woodward or Secretary Rice?
No, she was warned. I mean, there was a meeting. It was George Tenet, Dick Clark, another individual from the agency, Cofer Black, and Steve Hadley. And what it was, Keith, was a briefing for Dr. Rice that was similar to a briefing the CIA gave to us in the Situation Room about a week before, laying out the information, the intelligence, laying out the sense of urgency. And it was pretty much given to Dr. Rice and Steve Hadley in pretty stark terms.
Democrats want answers about whether the meeting occurred, and if so, why the 9/11 Commission and the rest of the country were never told about it.
They were obliged to tell the 9/11 Commission, when they were investigating, of all relevant meetings that took place relevant to the attack on 9/11. This sure sounds relevant to me. Why did they not do that?
I find that stunning, and I think that is as close to a smoking gun as you get.
There is a credibility gap in this administration that has now become a canyon. Woodward's central thesis on this matter, in his words, that by July 10th, 2001, CIA Director George Tenet and his counterterrorism chief, Cofer Black, had communications excerpts and other top-secret intelligence showing the increasing likelihood that al-Qaeda would soon attack the U.S. But Tenet had been having difficulty getting traction on an immediate bin Laden action plan, in part because Rumsfeld had questioned all the NSA intercepts and other intelligence. Tenet and Black met with Condoleezza Rice on July 10th. Rice this weekend denied it, but according to Woodward, she was polite, but they felt the brush off. There's also this part, not yet widely reported. Black calculated that if they had given him $500 million of covert action funds right then and reasonable authorizations from the president to go kill bin Laden, he would have been able to make great strides, if not do away with him. The CIA had about 100 sources and sub-sources operating throughout Afghanistan. Just give him the money and the authority, and he might be able to bring bin Laden's head back in a box. And lastly, Roger, about Secretary Rice's sharpness, she famously denied getting any warning before the August 6th PDB came to light. Last week, she denied that Dick Clark gave them a strategy to fight al-Qaeda left over from the Clinton administration. Now she's denying what Tenet and Black say they are apparently.